mind if I take a picture of your figures? I feel like it'll be a good like.
Oh yeah, go for it.
But yeah, no, we'll keep it like casual and just kind of do a little walk down memory lane and talk about music and anime and like how it's all.
It's funny. I sold like I think 150 of these figures.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you have them all?
It doesn't look like there's many missing, but
they were all in here.
Yeah, I mean, if you even like look right there, like in my closet, they're all like unopened ones. Like there is I probably have around like 200-300.
Gotcha. So that's like your. I'm gonna position my chair a little bit here and tilt this way. That's like your main sort of manga anime related collection.
Yeah, I would say the anime figures I've been into since I was really little.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like going to your house.
Yeah, no, like always. I remember like the
2009.
very first one I got to was Saber, which is one of my favorite characters now. But definitely manga as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a big manga person, and just books in general.
Yeah.
There's a lot of books I have. Same with films, just all sort of media. Don't collect too many CDs, even though I make music. I feel like I'm
noticing your CD here. It's cool.
Oh yeah, you can have that if you want.
Really?
Yeah.
I will take it.
Yeah. No,
okay,
no,
thank you. Yeah. No, I like this album. I was listening to that and All Men Are Evil.
Oh yeah, that's an old one, but
but a good one.
Thank you.
Just putting my phone on.
Yeah, I'm definitely a pessimist when it comes to my music. I'm like I would probably say I'm like my biggest hater.
Really?
I'm sure there's someone out there that thinks they're my biggest hater, but I promise.
Do you have a lot of like haters on? I mean, I guess right.
I mean, I guess if you do anything online publicly, you're bound to. So yeah. I feel like I don't. All right, I'll say I feel like I have like a small amount of hate, but I feel like the people that hate me like really hate me, like really bad. Like I feel like people all the time are like surprised and they just have to deal with because I don't know. I try to keep to myself, but it's just like oh my gosh, like some people just I don't know. Do you
think it's gotten at all like better in the past few years or worse? Because sometimes I feel like the age of like worse. Okay. I just remember the age of like negative YouTube comments. That almost feels like a bygone era.
Well, I feel like they used to be more, what's the word, like offensive. I feel like people don't really tell people to like kill themselves anymore.
Right,
that was a totally like regular thing people would say if they hated someone back in the day on like, obviously like 4chan and like all these forums.
And even just YouTube comments.
YouTube comments were terrible.
Yeah.
They're really bad. I don't use YouTube too much. I mean, I do for like video essays and music and whatnot, but I don't just like. There's no like YouTubers that I'm like, new video I'm like subscribed to.
Well, YouTube was the thing like 2010, but like not as much anymore.
Yeah, no, a lot of the internet culture definitely stemmed from there. It's still huge. I think it's like the biggest like platform still.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think it's above TikTok even though TikTok's huge, but I could be wrong.
You may be right because like TikTok has the energy more.
Yeah, it's more like culturally relevant, but YouTube
just like
is
longevity.
Huge.
Like there's still so many people, and in certain countries.
Yeah, and they don't like delete videos too. You know, it's like a database forever.
Totally.
That was cool, but not a YouTube person too much.
Yeah. Well, I'll do a kind of intro. I mean, it feels weird because we've been friends for so long. But, like, I guess this is a podcast, and people listening to it may not be familiar with you. So I will introduce you as Original God, although I know you as Keenan. But you've been going by Keenan Enrique, right?
Yeah, that's my middle name.
I knew that was your middle name.
And the only reason why I do that is because my last name is attached to like all my publishing, like with music and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to separate my film and music stuff.
Film and music, and Keenan Enrique.
My music is definitely like a persona, you know?
Yeah, totally.
I feel like it took me a really long time to realize that so many people that make like any sort of like art online publicly or just use social media, I guess in general, like what they want to present themselves as is their ideal version of themselves.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like for me, I kind of messed up in this sense because I play this persona that's Original God essentially was like birthed from everything I dislike about myself.
Really?
So it's like a very like it's like a caricature, like a very way more definitely edgy, definitely way edgier than I am. Definitely more pessimistic. Just sort of.
But you have to do that as an artist to some extent,
definitely.
Right?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of artists do that, but I just feel like just based off of even though we were talking earlier, like even just like the hate comments I get, or even times I've like met fans or like supporters or whatever they want to be called. I can tell there's like a disconnect. Like they expect me to be this very different person than I am.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I'm definitely a lot more like drawn back than quote unquote original God.
Yeah. Like just like laid back and
like even just the kind of music I do. Yeah, it's like very like intense. So.
Oh right, of course. Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, because theoretically there could be listeners who don't know who you are. Would you call yourself? This is a dumb fucking question, but would you call yourself a rapper? Or is that too tight of a box? Because like you do, rap, metalcore, sort of auto-tune pop, almost nightcore influenced stuff.
Definitely. Yeah. So, it's weird. I don't know what to refer to myself as.
It kind of seems like...
Because I definitely grew up in the era of, like, SoundCloud rap. Like, I definitely was like, oh, like, this is like a SoundCloud rapper. Yeah.
And Young Lean was another one.
Young Lean is a huge influence on me. Like, honestly, Young Lean was probably the person that really pushed me to, like, make music. Obviously not personally, even though I have met him, and he's amazing. But the first time I heard his music, I remember it so clear that I was in high school. I was on the beach having a bonfire with my friends, and one of my best friends at the time, we always shared music together. We got into a lot of like the underground music together at the same time. This was like, SoundCloud was really just starting up. I want to say this like 2013.
Yeah.
Potentially 2012. I want to say it was like 2013 though. And I just remember he plays this song, and it was Motorola by Young Lean.
Yeah.
First time I heard it, I'm like, this is crazy. This is so good. And I'm like, what song is this? And he's like, I'll send it to you. Next day, he doesn't send me the song. I hit him up. I see him at school. I'm like, yo, like, you gotta send me that song from last night. And he's like, I got you. He sends me the song, but he changed the metadata of the file, so it was like you couldn't see the name of the song or the artist, and that like
he was just trying to keep it,
and like you keep it like low. He doesn't want me to know. And I went on like a search. I went through like the whole internet. This is when I was still like very active on Tumblr, and I found it, and then I was like, oh, what? It's like this like, is this like white kid, and like from Europe. I'm like, this is all. I was like, this is crazy. And I think he was really the person to me that I was like, all right, like you can be like a white rapper and not be corny.
Yeah,
I really think like exactly. Before Young Lean, there wasn't like.
Well, it was Eminem, like, who's kind of his own thing.
Yeah.
And Asher Roth, like people like that are kind of.
Yeah, that's why I was just like, to me, I always thought it was corny, and that's why I used to like freestyle and stuff in high school, just like usually just like making fun of my friends or like meme songs. And everyone's like, oh, you gotta like make like a serious song, like you're good, you gotta post it. And I'm like, no, it's like so corny. I mean, I'm Chilean, but still like, I was like, it just like so lame. And I was like, what am I gonna do? Like post on like, cause this is like, what, like 2010. So I was like, why would I be like a Facebook rapper? I'm saying it's not happening. I saw Young Lean, I'm like, yo, wait, I can just make songs about like anime and like all this stuff that like I care about. I don't have to be like, you know, on some like fake flex, just like corny shit.
Exactly, yeah, because you have people, are on some fake flex. I agree. I mean, I don't know if that applies to, I don't know, not to make Asher Roth like the wicked, but he's an example, and whomever else, just a lot of Mac Miller. I mean, not Mac Miller has some.
Mac Miller's definitely like better. I definitely.
But he was like frat rap. Is what it felt like then. Then he got better. And you didn't want to be
and
that.
Like MGK, who is now like a little peep, like Industry Plant clone. But
at
the time though, I remember when he was just a rapper. It was called like the white rapper dude, like MGK. What was that song? I'm a Wild Boy.
Yeah, I don't even know it, but I get what you're saying, because I was like, I still am interested in hip hop and was very much at that time, and it always felt like there was a disconnect like between like these white rappers kind of struggling to present themselves in a way that was authentic, and like even if they tried hard to be authentic, it'd be like this indie alternative rap, which some of it's okay, but it has this weird taste to it, like they're trying too hard or something. But something changed around the time of Young Lean, where, and it's hard to say what it was. It's just like it's generational, I think. I mean, I don't even know how old Young Lean is off the top of my head, but he's basically Gen Z, right?
Probably.
I mean, maybe that's not even relevant. I guess the important thing, like, to get kind of culturally theoretical here, is like at some point people started making hip hop. That, I mean, it was like like it sounded different for one thing because it had a more of a web aesthetic, and then lyrically, as you said, just like about anything, it's about anime or
I think at the time it was called cloud rap.
Cloud rap.
It's gone through so many different names, sort of under this umbrella of like underground rap.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the time I know it's like cloud rap. There's a lot of like vaporwave influence as well with the art, and so yeah, it was totally a thing.
Yeah, vaporwave, and then you get like hyper pop.
Hyper pop's a lot newer.
It's newer, yeah, but it's all these very like web based.
Yeah, hyper pop kind of was just like a like worse version of like PC music. I feel like you know, like stemmed from that. There's definitely there's some cool hyper pop songs now, but I definitely can tell I'm like getting older because there's so many things now that are like popular, and I'm still like I'm on like the cutoff. I'm still considered Gen Z, but I'm still like. I don't know. There's just some things I hear that's like really popular now, and I just like I don't get it. Like, I feel old. But I guess this was cool about it, you know.
It continues to evolve, and kind of the borderline between like what's hip hop and not has gotten very, very fuzzy, which I think is cool.
Yeah, but I think hip hop's like the biggest genre. I think as like this, even like with metal too, there's just so many subgenres, but hip hop definitely is like birthed so much. Like it's definitely like worth so much, especially what's popular now. Like, hip-hop controls so much of, like, pop culture.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's pretty much one of the only, like, vital kinds of music. I mean, pretty much forget almost any kind of rock. And then, like, yeah, there's pop and there's people making pop music, but a lot of the stuff that feels vital does have that hip-hop influence.
Oh, 100%.
I think it's, like, auto-tune, I think, opened up a lot of...
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because it gave people the confidence to sort of try it. I mean, I think it's... You know, it's in the for me, like, this kind of hip-hop is, like, in the tradition of, like, punk to a certain extent and, like, it's kind of garage rock. Like, it's the kind of music where you feel... This sounds like what happened to you.
It's very DIY.
With Young Lean, you know, you hear it and you feel like you can do it.
Yeah.
You feel like you don't have to put on a front.
It's funny because I feel like that is one of the drawbacks of music currently, especially with hip-hop. Yeah. And it's funny because it is very much a lot how I did get into it as well, but I think a lot of people don't want to hear really sophisticated and complex music anymore. Like music that's good on a technical level, such as like classical music. I can name like so many bands too, and it's
like metal. For the most part.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially like that takes a lot of work to make. People don't really like that. People like to hear music that when they hear it, they're like, "Oh, I can do this." And I think that's why so many of like the rappers that you see now coming up, especially because there's so many like young artists like 18, 19 years old, and you see them coming up, and it's like they're like, this is okay, but it's like I could do this. It's like
it's not
nothing special.
It's not new.
Yeah, so and maybe, people also, I feel like so many like artists. Like, definitely, like, almost every artist I meet, they love to experiment, they love to try new things and branch out from, like, what they usually do, but that's not what people want. I've noticed, like, the artists you see that are popular right now, like, off the top of my head, like, Yeat, Playboi Carti, and I like their music a lot, so not saying it's a bad thing, but they want them to have, like, a style that they just repeat over and over, versus trying different genres, etc.
Yeah, totally. I feel like part of what we're sort of, talking about is both the positive and ill effects of music, sort of, and hip hop especially, but music in general, pop music, sort of, and online based pop music, merging with meme culture.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like the music starts as a meme.
Yeah,
and maybe just is a meme, but people
kind of
like
where it all
it
comes from now, especially with TikTok. Is like the radio top 40, because I never listen to the radio. Like, I put on what I have, like my playlist and whatnot. Yeah. But, like, when I'm going to visit my family, like, that's, like, the only time, like, I'll hear, like, the radio or even see, like, commercials on TV, like, and I'm just, like, this, like, the top 40 on the radio is just, like, songs that went viral on TikTok.
Exactly,
like, this is so strange.
It doesn't, I mean, top 40, sort of when we were growing up, felt different than it does. I mean, it's always been, like, you know, very mainstream and, like, they'll play the same songs over and over again, but it was vital in a way that I don't think it is anymore. Now it kind of just feels like it's taking certain trends that went viral from the internet and repackaging them, but like not a lot of genuine evolution is kind of happening there. And I don't think young people don't listen to the radio.
Yeah,
for the most
no,
part,
everything's moved to the internet now.
Yeah, TikTok perhaps in particular.
Yeah. I think definitely that's the thing that we're gonna look back on in history and be like, we were definitely just not prepared for the scope of how big the internet was going to be and how much it affects
and
society.
how we were going to start using it. You know, it's not confined to a box on your desk. It's in your hand all the time. It has a life of its own and an energy and a force of its own. And I think, I'm kind of like agnostic to it, or not agnostic. I think it can have both very positive and very negative effects. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I think people's mental health it's like pretty negative on.
Yeah.
But on the kind of cultural topic, I think it's at least a mixed bag. I mean, I think it's really cool that people like you can make music, and I think it's really cool that people can hear Young Lean and get inspired to make music just right there on their laptop. That's great. But then, of course, as you said, at some point, the trend sort of becomes too big and there's too much of it. And I don't know. Maybe it's just natural.
I think just as technology evolves too, it just becomes easier because I don't know. When I started making music, you couldn't even put your music on Spotify or iTunes and all that.
You'd have to be SoundCloud.
Yeah, that's why it was SoundCloud.
It was
and then now it's just even with just the DAWs that people use, it's so easy to make music that sounds good on a technical level now. It doesn't really require any talent, I would say. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself talented. It wasn't even something I wanted to do per se. It just sort of happened. And I think you see that a lot, that it's just, it's very easy to make technically good music, and it's just the market's so oversaturated now. That's why people are just looking for things that are different.
Yeah, things that are different, and again, for better or for ill, it's not so much about the technical mastery, because anyone can make music that sounds decent technically. It's about the way you present yourself, and that can be very shallow, where it's all about clout and blah blah blah. But it also can be cool, because I think a lot of what makes your music pop is not just the music, but also the graphic design, which is another interest of yours.
Yeah. And
the filmmaking, which you're now getting into, can kind of ease more seamlessly in with it, perhaps. I mean, again, good effects and bad effects, in my view.
100%.
It's cool that we live in a world where you can just really distill an aesthetic and use that as a kind of currency, I guess. But then, on the other hand, it can be very cynical when it's all cloud chasing and all that. So.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird because it has become almost like a game in a sense, where everyone's just playing, everyone's just a character, It's the face of the person is more powerful than the actual art itself, which I think is stupid, but it's just what it's become, and I think it's only going to get worse, definitely.
I think so too. I mean, I think the question is, how are people, because the market is so saturated, how are people going to establish themselves, and I think they will, and I think that how they differentiate themselves is what's going to be really interesting.
Oh, definitely. I think that's a problem I've had, is because music wasn't my dream or anything. It just sort of happened and became my income. And I mean, I love making art and I love helping people, so that's why I stuck with it. But I definitely feel if you really want to be if you want to get huge in music, I definitely think you have to think you're the best, and you have to strive to be that. And I just don't have that mindset, and I can tell that's probably something that holds me back, but it's also just not what I want. But I feel that's why it's always difficult to for me to communicate with other artists, because there's a lot of things I can tell this is how I should be thinking, but we're just not on the same page about that. And I don't want to make someone feel oh, well, this is my mindset, it's not people can have different mindsets, do the same thing. But I feel a lot of people, when you express your opinion, a lot of times they take it as, well, if it's different than mine, then what are you trying to say?
Yeah, no, definitely. Is that why you're kind of you're leaning more towards filmmaking at this point, right? That's kind of been your longer term dream.
Yeah, that's always just as a kid was what I want to do when I grow up, and music just sort of happened. I mean, I'm definitely gonna keep making music. I still have a bunch of projects in the work, but I at least want to mesh the two. I definitely plan on scoring all of the films I'm working on, and so it's been cool. I just definitely, for me, as much as I do the music, how you said earlier, the graphic design, that's just as important to me as the music. The art for it, I take a lot of time, because I started, at least, I used to do all my album art, and then now I work with a bunch of different really talented artists. And so regardless of whether another artist is illustrating or I'm designing, we always make sure to work very closely together to make the final product we want. Almost a lot of the times we start on the art, or I start on the art before I even make the song.
Yeah, no, I kind of get that vibe looking through your stuff sometimes. It's the vision behind the music. I mean, it's musical, but it also feels very strongly visual, and theoretical too, or literary, because because I know you write as well, right? And all your, there's always a pretty strong thematic through line in your albums, I find.
Yeah, thank you. It definitely has to do with my interest in poetry as well.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, no, I love writing songs. I love doing the art. I think like making the actual music's like my least favorite part.
That's interesting. Yeah. But it's not bad. It's like music is like how you get people to pay attention, perhaps, because like no one goes around like, I'm gonna look at these. Well, I guess some of us might, but no one like look at anime, pictures. I guess people do, but and no one, and very few people read poetry, but people do listen to music. They play it on the car, they play it on Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever. So it's like, I don't know. I think that's what is cool about music and pop music, especially, is that it because it is simply that it's popular and people actually seek it out.
Oh, definitely.
That's kind of the meme, the mimetic edge of it too. Is like
music
you get
is huge.
People
it controls so much of pop culture as well, and it's important too. I think music can be very powerful, and so I love making art, and so I do enjoy doing music, but it's definitely there's a lot more I want to do with my life, and I don't know. I feel called to do more, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think it totally makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like I've like honestly gone like a lot farther than I ever planned to.
Exactly. And yeah, because art is a vocation. I believe that, and regardless of how you feel about being a musician now, I mean, you're in a position where you can.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely very blessed and very thankful.
No, it's cool. Yeah.
Like, all my supporters just, like, it means so much to me, and it just blows my mind every time. Like, anytime someone reaches out saying that, like, this song means a lot to me, this song has, like, saved me, it just, I don't know, it's just so surreal still to me, and I think that's definitely, like, the driving force behind it is, I don't know, I want to be there for people that need it as well.
Yeah, no, it's so important, yeah.
I don't know, the sound is cool, too, but to me it's definitely, like, a lot about, like, the message and the vision.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I did want to like walk down memory lane a bit here. Context being that it's not that we I guess grew up together. We were in high school / middle school together in Pennsylvania, 21st century cyber charter school. We were cyber school kids. About 2009, 2010 was like I guess the apogee of our friendship. I kind of wanted to reflect on being cyber schooled, like being very online in that way. But I guess maybe an interesting place to start this section of the conversation is, am I taking too much credit, or did that Get Crunk song we recorded in 2010, was that pretty much the first time? I mean, I remember
I want to say that
recorded something. We played with GarageBand.
That might be, looking back at it. I just know that the funny part was that we wanted to make a parody band,
right?
And it's funny because the band we were parodying at the time was a lot
Broken
of
Side.
Who I've like talked to and have like
been
planning to like work with now. It's just funny.
Yeah, they're still together somehow, right?
I think they like just made a comeback very recently.
They're interesting.
Yeah.
I actually want to talk about Broken Side a bit. I mean,
it's funny because I feel like bands like them, and I really hate to say it because they're like so disgusting, but even like Blood on the Dance Floor.
Oh yeah, they are disgusting. But
like,
I like
so much of that stuff was. I just remember how much the entire internet hated it.
And that's what was so compelling.
I know, and it's just crazy because so much of the music that's popular now is exactly that.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. Like, especially Blood on the Dance Floor, like, that's what hyperpop is. Like, essentially. And so it's just, like, so interesting to me that it's just, like, this is, like, the most vehement. I mean, like, Blood on the Dance Floor is a good reason to be hated. But, but, like, even, like, there was, like, other bands, too, that were just, like, Dot Curve,
Did you work with them at some point?
We planned to. I don't think we ever actually did. But, that's what I'm saying. It's just, like, funny how it came full circle.
Oh, it's fascinating. Because that was so hated. That's why it was compelling. And, Broken Side had an album called, like, I'm not a fan, but the kids like it. So I think they were like cynical about it, and like, maybe it was a little bit cynical. I don't know, but like either way,
definitely playing
like,
into it.
It definitely. I mean, it's just still crazy because it happened like 2008, 2009, and then it kind of went away, and then like post Young Lean, rap rock and hyper pop, all of those elements kind of came back.
I mean, what you were saying is true because I remember we made the parody song, and it was like. Auto-tune rap, we were essentially parodying just like how like misogynistic and like offensive everything was. And because we didn't do like any drugs or anything. We were very young. Like I didn't have like sex or anything. You know, like this. We were very young. Like,
this was me. We did it over the phone. Like it was me in my bedroom on my laptop, and probably you in your bedroom on your laptop.
I remember we did. We had like screamo elements, and that I think that's why I want to say that. Honestly, probably was what paved the way.
Yeah, I kind of got that. Again, I'm not really taking credit, but I just remember. So what happened was, like, we recorded that. It was funny. It was a total parody, but like I do remember thinking, like, this actually doesn't sound that bad. Like, cause I think I would have at the time, if you'd asked me if I liked Broken Side, I would have been like, I don't know, but like, yeah, I definitely like Broken Side. Like, I still do in certain ways, you know. Yeah. So I think I sort of dug it. Like it came out like way better than I thought it would.
Yeah, no.
I think there's an element of that to like a lot of this music, including Broken Side, but then like later some of the Cloud Rap stuff too. Like I feel like a lot of it did kind of start as a joke, but then like or a
they're
meme
like
at
so
least.
bad it's good. And there's definitely a lot of music like that I can tell like sounds just like it sounds off, but it's something about it makes you like it more.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, that, again, this is almost a tired comparison, but, like, even going back to, like, punk, like, the thing was, like, it wasn't as technically proficient, and that's sort of what
it's definitely very
is.
Punk, a lot of the new things you see coming out.
Oh, totally. It's that same
it's the revival
DIY mindset, with the same kind of emotions and anger and rebellion, too. But anyway, so we made that song, and then you moved to Hawaii, like, not long later.
Yeah, I moved to Hawaii right as I started high school. I did the cyber school, I want to say, for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Because I know I left halfway through 8th grade to go back to public school, and then I
remember
to Hawaii.
that. Right. Oh, yeah. And then I was on my own life path, and we sort of lost the friendship a little bit, sadly. But somehow we now live, like, very close to each other. It's funny how life has worked out that way. But yeah, no, so we never lost touch completely. And I was going to say earlier, like, I even remember, like, 2013, like, chatting with you about Young Lean on Facebook. And I probably wasn't as into it as you at the time, but I knew what it was. And, you know, we've stayed in touch. But yeah, basically, we record that song, and then there's, like, a whole chunk of time when you were in Hawaii, like, slowly becoming Original God that I guess I'm not. I mean, I've read about it online, and we've talked about it a bit. And you actually talked about it earlier. Like, you were encouraged, you were freestyling, you were encouraged.
It was mainly just something with my friends. And when I started, I'm sure, like, if people have, like, actually been listening to my music from the very beginning, then they'll remember. But for the longest time, I never showed my face. I only used to use, like, anime pictures.
Yeah.
I stayed completely anonymous. I didn't tell a single person at school, like, even my closest friends I made music. The only people that knew were, like, I used to, like, run, like, an anime group, like, on Facebook. And so it was just funny because one of the admins in that is one of my current roommates, KP.
Oh, cool.
But, so, like, it was, like, a thing I just,
and what is this, like, 2012?
2013
maybe?
Probably, I want to say, like, 2012 was when I was in, like, the anime group, and I was, like, making music, but I wasn't doing Original God. I want to say the first, like, Original God song I posted on SoundCloud, honestly, probably goes back as early as, like, 2013.
Yeah.
I never took it seriously, so there was probably, like, a year before I even released, like, another song. But it was just, like, something I did, like, anonymously, and I don't really know what song it was. I remember, like,
you must have had a moment that, like, went more viral, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just know that the very first song I ever posted was called Trap Card. It was about a trap card from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
And I just remember I pretty much just said, activate my trap card, like, 100 times. Like, I just
that's, like, the nature of this music.
On, like, a trap beat. It was, like, a trap beat. Yeah. I was doing some, like, screamo stuff. I used to do, like, a lot of, like, the auto-tune singing, and then I stopped that to do more of, like, the screaming stuff. And then I went back to doing the singing again.
And now you do both pretty...
Yeah. But, I definitely, when I started out, I feel like a lot of that earlier stuff is very similar to what I make now, but it just sounded awful. Yeah, like, I didn't even know how to mix or anything. Like, I would just record it into the mic built in on my laptop, into, like... Like, I didn't even have GarageBand. I had Windows, so just using, like, Audacity or something, and just...
Oh, wow.
Like, just... rapped on the beat and just posted it, like, nothing else. Like,
it's cool.
Add, like, some reverb, and I did it for a long time. Then I discovered how to use, like, an auto-tune plugin. I'm like, oh, okay, and then started doing that, and then eventually started actually learning, like, how to really make music. But for a long time, I was just doing whatever, and listening back to some of it is, like, it's like honestly comical. Like some of the songs I made.
But you were getting a listenership even then.
I guess I'm very surprised.
Aesthetic at least.
And it's funny because I feel like a lot of people are always like if someone's like music is terrible, like you got to tell them like y'all have to stop like gassing up like terrible artists and stuff. But looking back on it, the only reason I kept going is not a single person ever told me like this shit is terrible, and it was so bad. Yeah. Like looking back, I'm kind of like, are my friends like really my friends? Like no one ever once told me like this is terrible, like this sucks. Everyone would be like, this is great, keep going. It
was still a vibe, right?
Yeah,
like,
but I guess because no one told me, I eventually went on to make music that like I do like.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's interesting because people always say that, like, you know, be like real honest, with people, be critical, but like I don't know, maybe we're living in a world where like self-confidence building is like more important than anything.
Yeah, no, it's strange because I wouldn't really have like a solid opinion on what to say in those scenarios, but definitely for me, like that's why I'm still making music is because no one told me. Like listening back, I'm like, that's crazy. Like no one told me this was terrible. Like, it's so bad.
Oh man. Yeah. So how did I don't mean to be like a starfuckery question, but how did you end up doing a song with Lil Peep?
Oh, okay. So it's actually really interesting, and I will always say this. I really think when Pete passed, that was like the end of the SoundCloud.
Yeah,
I think he was the last like real, like genuine artist. And then it all just became some sort of game, and then that was also when the industry sort of stepped in.
Yeah, it was
before
like
the industry wasn't
they were really hot on Peep, and like
they
were gonna make him bigger and everything.
Yeah. And then once he passed, they just started having like other artists like MGK try and write. It just became a mess. But Pete was actually one of the very first people to ever talk to me on SoundCloud, because back in the day, like you would just talk to people. That's how I met like all the people I lived with. Is just like SoundCloud messages. Like,
how big would you say that community of people was? Like,
I feel like most people like you would like know of everyone. I would say like for the most part, it's very rare like an artist would be like doing a show or working with another artist that you just never heard of.
Right. So it's this classic thing that you kind of get in culture. I'm trying to think of another example, but it's like it's a small group where everyone knows each other, and then like a rising tide ends up lifting all ships, right? So like those like whatever, however it was, like 1,000 people or something, all of a sudden we're at the apex or something. It was getting national attention when like Lil Peep blew up, and it's just kind of an interesting thing.
It was really crazy seeing where a lot of people went. And a majority of people don't even make music from like the very early SoundCloud days, but he was one of the very first people to ever reach out to me, and was just like. Because everyone was very supportive, and I missed that. Like, people were just happy to, like, make music with other people and just, like, meet other people.
Collaborating was the big thing.
And so he hit me up and was just like, yo, I'm about to, like, listen to your album I just dropped. And this was back, like, I released probably about, like, 5 to 6 albums before, like, whatever is, like, the first album I have up on SoundCloud now. Yeah. Like, and I used to release, like, 30-track albums. Like, I don't, like, I would just, like, in, like, 2 nights, I would just, like, bump out an album. I think it was called, I forget what it was. I just knew it had like a Evangelion on the cover.
Yeah.
And he's like, yo, I'm about to listen to this. And he was like, you know, like I'm smoking weed to this. This is like so sick. I'm like, thank you. And he's like, we got to make a song. And then we fell out of contact for a bit. But then I used to be in so many different of these like, what is it, like collectives. There's so many SoundCloud collectives I was in. And one of them, a lot of them were very good friends with Peep. One of the artists, Boy Fruit, put me onto Peep, and he did like an entire tape with him. And then that sort of led to us like having a song like eventually in the future. But the song was actually made about like maybe like a year or 2 before it actually
I remember
came out.
You telling me that. I mean, so from my perspective, like we were keeping time, but I sort of fell out of contact with you. I had that memory of like Get Crunk in the background, and I knew you were making music and taking it more and more seriously. But then, like, I think we saw each other again in LA in 2017, which is kind of funny to think that itself was now like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's around the time we got back in touch, and like I had just like, you know, I'd been in college and I'd like kind of not been paying attention to music, but after college I got back into it, and like I thought Lil Peep was really interesting, and then you're like, I'm doing a song with him. So from my perspective, it was like this wild thing where we'd, you know, within what felt like recent memory at the time, we'd like made that parodic track, and like it became real. So it's still you said it's surreal to you, like with fans. Like for me, it's still surreal to think about that like you actually became the meme or like that we were making.
Yeah, no, essentially, in a good
way. In an amazing way. Like I'm still pretty flabbergasted by it.
No, I still have. I know it's probably packed up somewhere, but I have the printed out album cover of you for the.
Yeah, it's a little questionable. It's like me with like aluminum foil grills. And,
you're holding like a hot sauce bottle as like a beer or something. It's great. You have like $20
I was trying to
bill.
look like Lil Jon. Which, I don't know, modern sensibilities. Maybe it's questionable, but yeah, like a $20. Like probably that's probably like all the money I had in the world at the time.
I mean, Lil Jon honestly like led into a lot of that music. I mean, that's like the crunk thing. Yeah.
What's interesting,
like,
it's almost an aside, but like crunkcore.
That's what it was called,
it was crunkcore because it was crunk and screamo, and then at some point crunk just became trap. Like they are different genres, but like. If you,
it used to be a lot more aggressive, definitely.
Crunk was, you think? Yeah, crunk was.
Yeah, it's a crazy genre. They got to bring it back. I know that one dude, Duke Deuce, tried to bring it back, but yeah, no, crunk was crazy genre. I was definitely a fan.
Yeah. No, I was too, and I mean honestly, we're jumping around here, but like everyone again shit on Broken Side so hard. Like it was like when you talk about YouTube comments. I mean, I'm pretty sure like. People talked about like wanting to kill them.
Yeah, no, like really, you know what I mean? Did not like that.
But like at the end of the day, like crunk and screamo, like you can see why that got mixed. I mean, crunk was sort of aggressive, yelly, screamy rap, and then screamo was very much having.
No, and it led to so much of like what's popular now.
Yeah,
and I mean, I'm sure you're gonna see it now. I feel like off the top of my head, I can't think of any like. Artists that are hated on that level.
No, that's why I asked earlier, like if you thought it had gotten better, because I think there's a lot of like toxic shit online, maybe more than ever, but like really pointed hating of things as like an group identity of itself. That feels like very 2009 to me.
Yeah.
You know, like hating Twilight. Hating Justin Bieber, like these used
Nickelback,
to be
Nickelback,
yeah.
It was just like
Broken Side, like these
people would
used to
make a personality out of hating something.
Yeah, that feels like for some reason it's lessened a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Well, it's strange. So
yeah,
I was like just talking about this the other day, and I think like with the internet in general, because I mean we went to cyber school, so we were definitely like we grew up using the internet. And using the internet regularly was really just not, like, a regular thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't, like, social media and all that was, like, people would go on for, like, a little bit, and then they're like, okay, I'm logging off, and then you wouldn't hear from them for, like, a day or two.
Exactly.
And
it'd say BRB.
Like, yeah, exactly. And now it's just, like, everyone's literally terminally online. Just constantly notifications, whether it's through their phone, computer, even watching stuff. Like, everything is just, everyone even just taking pictures, going out. It's just, like... It's very dystopian, and I've noticed that a lot of things that have seemed to mellow out, I don't know if it's, like, also cancel culture. I think a lot of people are scared to, like, do a lot of things now because they're worried about being, like, quote-unquote, like, exposed online.
Yeah.
And, I think that could be part of it, but also I feel like that's probably why people aren't as hateful. But when I look like through comments, people are just as mean. It's just like toned down.
It's just coded.
But I would say that it's like more. I feel like there's like a bigger percentage of people that are like negative and hating on things.
There's more
just
overall
not
negativity.
as
like,
what's the word like as vehement anymore.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the internet in general. I feel like the internet is like so much more like chaotic and unhinged, and like the spread of misinformation is insane now. But I feel like when we were younger, there was a lot more of like a community around it, but it was also a lot easier to see like really well, not only contextualize it, I feel like a lot of the stuff was more in the wide open. Like I feel like you can't go on TikTok and just see like a video of someone getting their head chopped off.
Thankfully
you know. But like
still
when we were young, like we would be on forums just talking about like Pokemon or something and click a random link and it'd be like the most disturbing thing ever. So I think in general like the internet has taken like the extremity of a lot of things away. But I think it's all still there and honestly
it's like pernicious.
But they just put like a nice little bow over it now. Because they still have better control over the algorithm now, you know?
They definitely have better control over the algorithm, but I think it pushes things underground, which is actually kind of bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like now it's and then I mean I was just reading some BBC article about like people I don't even want to fucking talk about it actually, but like about like people getting like monkey torture videos and all this like horrific stuff that like even though like we live in this kind of like somewhat sanitized version of the internet, it's just still there below the
Yeah,
surface.
it
I mean, I'm
is,
glad
yeah.
we don't come across it, but at the same time, it's like the internet's just as evil, just less obvious.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so too. Especially
Yeah.
because like so much of the younger generations like control like the internet and what's popular on it. And that's the thing too that I've always found like kind of like very dystopian is like pop culture and even like the news now is like a lot of it is kind of controlled by like 12-year-olds. Because on the internet like everyone's anonymous, which I definitely disagree with. I think everyone should have like their identity be known.
I think that would
for who
help
they are on
with
the
certain
internet.
things. Yeah.
I mean, also, I'm obviously biased because if you're any sort of like artist on the internet, like people are gonna know who you are.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't really have a choice. But I feel like there's so many times I'll be reading like just reading comments, and just because like I don't know, I think it's hilarious to just read like comments online. It's crazy to see just like the types of people there are like in the world interacting, just talking about their opinion. Like publicly on the internet, like you know,
oh, yeah, TikTok comments. Crazy.
TikTok comments are hilarious because I'll be reading them and I'll see people just arguing back and forth, and I'll click the profile and I'll be like, "This is really like an 11-year-old like Fortnite kid arguing with like a 40-year-old," and it's like clearly I don't think either of them took the time to realize that, and it's just like I feel like people if they actually realized who they were talking to on the internet a lot of times or who were behind these like negative comments, they wouldn't feel as bad about it. Yeah. A lot of times it is just really little kids who can like think they can get away saying anything. And I mean, I don't know, like we were the same way when we were kids, you know,
totally.
like we would just like mess around. We would like I remember in
cyber
school we would like email people like
people.
yeah.
I mean, I don't even want to get too personal about it, but yeah, I definitely. I mean, I got in trouble for things I said to people.
Yeah.
It was, I don't want to. I won't get into specifics, but it was even just the cyber school email was like. It was like it was like a microcosm of everything else on the internet.
No, exactly. Like we
and like
lived through a lot of that way before.
Totally. Yeah, I mean I think the mascot of that school, which is still around, what they call them is like the pioneers because they're like the pioneers of internet schooling, and I mean they were right. Like, internet schooling is bigger than ever. Sort of
especially with the pandemic,
and just like the but more so even than like cyber schooling is the culture of being online all the time. And I distinctly remember like I wasn't like too dumb of a kid, but I was still like looking up porn on my fucking cyber school computer. Like, you can't resist. I don't know. It's weird. And like
they gave us a computer with full access to the internet when we were like.
I think
12,
it did have it had some kind of blocker on it, but like those things don't work.
No, you and I figured out how to disable it one time. I'm pretty sure.
I think we did.
Yeah,
there was like a whole like there was websites you could go to where it just was like anonymous Google. Like it just like you basically just put up some kind of firewall and like. Access to everything. Again, I wasn't a stupid kid, so like I don't know why I was, risking getting in that much trouble, and I did get in trouble, but like we got away with most of it. And I mean, for me, it just illustrates like you put a computer in front of a kid, like they're going to look up that stuff.
Yeah,
it is completely inevitable. What we do about that as a society, I don't know, because like I don't think it's great that like 11-year-olds are watching porn stuff.
No, I definitely agree.
What we do about it, I don't know, but like we have to accept the reality. Like that is what
definitely.
it is, and like as we have that experience in cyber school, and even again the social element, the emailing, the online friendships, the weird. Like I knew people who catfished people within the school. Like all this stuff from the internet happened on that microcosm, and it was. So we were ahead of the curve, and we've almost already covered this, but like, I feel like that probably did affect you, like as an artist, right? Like, you being very online. We all had GarageBand on those computers. Yeah. There was even music classes where we were encouraged to make music on GarageBand.
Oh yeah, I still remembered with the
like that definitely had an influence too.
I made the Justin Bieber parody about plate tectonics in your class.
Yeah.
Like just stuff like that was just
it's cool in a way. Again, as I was saying earlier, it's like double-edged swords. Like on some level. Maybe I would have been like happier and more social in a real school, but on another level, like, we were ahead of the curve.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely very glad for the experience.
Yeah.
Honestly, don't know if I have kids in the future, if I would make them do that. But
I mean, I probably won't.
Yeah,
frankly,
but
like I think
I definitely am glad. Yeah. I'm definitely glad I did it though. That was there's a lot of.
It was something. It was very of its moment, like 2009. And I did notice. I don't know if this is that real of a phenomenon, but like Pete went to cyber school for a time. I read online anyway.
I honestly have no clue.
Yeah, and then that other guy, Six Dogs, who also passed away. That.
Rest in peace.
I think he also went to school on the internet. This is all just like tidbits that when I'm looking at bios.
I mean, no, it makes sense.
Stands out, but I think it makes sense. Like, it's a thing a little bit, you know?
Especially because they really pushed a lot of like the artistic elements of it as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like I was pretty much at home all day with a computer. Like there's just so much to do, like on the internet, you know, like because that wasn't like I never had a computer before that.
Right, and these were these were MacBooks too. Yeah. Which is like, I think it was the only cyber school in Pennsylvania that offered MacBooks. Everyone else was on. Yeah. Which makes a difference. Like, not that I have total brand loyalty, but like, you have GarageBand, you have all these like really good creative tools that were put in front of us. The other key part, I don't even know if you have one thing or other to say about this, but the other key part of like our history and the mythology is that we were co-presidents of the anime club along with my brother at that cyber school, and that's pretty much how we became friends. Yeah. Like, we met at that field trip and so.
Well, I was friends with your brother at first.
Yeah, you were friends with my brother first, but we hit it off pretty quickly. Yeah, there was a whole other cast of characters. I mean, I guess we can't just be like talking about cyber school. There was a lot. Maybe Emily will listen to this. Not that I talk to her anymore, but she follows both of us on Instagram.
Yeah, maybe she might. That's what I was talking about. That I made the Play Tectonic song with.
Yeah, you made it there. You also did like an original.
Oh yeah, we did. We did do a song that was very early into me doing the original God stuff. Yeah, that was part of the like 6 albums that I just sort of like took down because I wasn't a fan. But that song I feel like was a lot more similar to what I ended up doing versus a lot of the more like underground things. Yeah. But I don't know. It was cool. But I was just the other day, I think I was talking to, I can't remember who I was talking to, but I just have like a memory. I think you were there. You may not have been there, but for some reason it was like we went to like the King of Prussia Mall or some mall.
Well, we definitely
in
went
cosplay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
With like a bunch of the kids from the cyber school.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And I just remember like looking back on it, that I just remember there was like, because you were older than me, but there was also like people older than you. Yeah. And I was like, what, like 12 or 13?
Yeah,
and
you were
there
like
was
8th grade.
And there was like so many of these like 18-year-old cosplayers that we were just all walking around. And at the time, there wasn't like anything weird about that. But looking back, I was like, I feel like you would never see that nowadays.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean,
like not even necessarily that age gap too, but also like in cosplay at the mall. I mean, I'm sure you do, but like we were like really in cosplay. You know, it wasn't like we just had like cat ears or something. Like I looked like insane. I look stupid as hell.
It was normal at that time. I'm just thinking, like, in LA now, like, do you see that? Not as much. I think people...
Yeah, I think people do, like, slight cosplay. There's also a lot of fashion inspired by cosplay. But not like you just go with your, like, internet group on, like, a weekday to the mall.
No.
But that's just, like, kids from the age of, like, 12 to, like, 20. Like, it just, like, it was such a strange mix. But, I don't know, we had fun.
Definitely. Yeah. This is kind of random, but another genre that kind of factors in all this would be nightcore. Would you say that's an influence on your music much?
I used to listen to a lot of nightcore. I think that influenced a lot more of hyperpop.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I just remember before, like, the term hyperpop was really coined, I just had, like, some stupid tweet that was just like, if all music was nightcore, we could listen to twice as much music before we die.
Yeah,
and then that's a good tweet. But then it ended up kind of becoming true because that ended up really becoming like a popular thing. And I've made songs that are sped up, and like I've messed around with like high pitch, like as well. And it's cool. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's like a big influence on my music, but definitely more so like the culture around that.
The culture
like,
around
I grew up watching like AMVs and all that. And, like, all
I was just thinking about AMVs. Yeah, that was such a thing on YouTube. Yeah. They're not as readily available now.
No, people don't really make them, but you see like the smaller like edits all the time. Yeah. And I mean, even now, I still use them to promote my music sometimes.
It's cool. Yeah. I think a couple weeks ago I texted you. I was asking what you thought of 100 gecs because I kind of like the nightcore.
Oh, I like
them. Also, just them in general as like because they're signed with Atlantic, I think, like a very mainstream signed like.
Oh, they definitely are like who pushed hyperpop into the mainstream 100%.
Yeah.
They're great. Yeah, I love their music. I'm not like a super fan or anything, but all their stuff I've heard is great. And I also used to listen to Dylan Brady for like a long time before 100 gecs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because I went to one of your shows. I think it was like March, and there was some act performing before you guys.
Oh, was Dylan Brady there? Cause
was it?
Well, they used to come to like we did like one of the midnight festivals. I remember meeting them, but besides that,
I don't think it was Dylan Brady, but you were like, this is the perfect like mixture of Chief Keef and Night.
Recently,
yeah,
right?
very recently.
Yeah.
It's only kind of clicked into place for me with that. It's like, yeah, this is. Like, if you listen to both Nightcore and Chief Keef, which we all did, like, this is the kind of music you're going to make.
Yeah.
No, but again, to kind of reiterate, like, that's what's cool about it is, like, people are just authentically responding to, like, their aesthetic influences and, like, rapping or singing about their lives. And, I mean, again, it's hyper-saturated now, but it has that authenticity of, like, people
definitely.
just
Well, the thing that I've definitely picked up on that is kind of funny in a sense is, I mean, because we went to cyber school, like, we were into a lot of the same things. So I feel like so much of the stuff that when we were kids that were, like, very, like, taboo, in a sense. Like, I don't know, I used to get bullied for reading manga. Like,
right.
I feel like you see people all the day be like, you didn't get, like, bullied for liking anime, like, you were just a weirdo. It's like, no, that was, like, definitely a thing back in the day. Yeah. Like, people, like, did not like anime, and even, like, any sort of, like, especially if you're, like, a furry, even, like, emo. Oh, yeah. That's why I went to
like normal.
That's why I went to cyber schools. I used to get into fights like every day when I was in middle school, and it was like I had like he'd like rip my One Piece manga in half, like, and I was just like swinging, and so it got bad that I had to go to cyber school. But the thing though is I think it's great now that people can like what they want and not get like made fun of for it.
Too.
But I definitely have thought it. What's the word I'm looking for? Like the culture of the internet. Because we grew up in that, and it definitely was like anime, nightcore, even like underground music, internet aesthetic, like Tumblr. It was really like you had to be either like extremely mentally ill or like a degenerate to like have found that stuff. It sounds bad, but it's true.
Kind of.
And like even like early anime culture, like going to like I remember like going to anime conventions with you.
Yes,
like you would have people like run up to you like and like jump on you and be like, OMG RAR and stuff, and I'm just like you
was
can't.
A little autistic.
You can't do stuff like that anymore, and it was just like, but so much of that was what created the internet culture. Was all of these very like socially like outcasted people. Yeah. But because I think it was really the pandemic was what forced like just every average person onto the internet, and now like really everyone's like almost terminally online. But the culture started from, like, a bunch of social outcasts, but because, like, it built up for so long, I feel like so many people that only, like, in the past few years started being active on the internet think a lot of this stuff is really cool because they see, like, thousands of people online and likes talking about how amazing it is. Like, anime especially, like, anime is so mainstream now, but it's, like, I feel like had that, like, internet boom not happened, like, so many people would probably think a lot of this stuff stupid still.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's like, I don't know what the word is, but it's like where people like things because they see other people are liking it.
Yeah, what is the word? Oh, it's mimetic.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because I think there's so much is like because the algorithm's so good, is like you'll see things like hundreds of thousands of likes, and they're like, oh well, if this many people like this, it must be true, you know? And it's like that's. There's just how many people are on, like in the world. Like it can be like the most wrong statement, the worst anime you've ever seen, and you can have like so many people saying it's the best thing. But this is so true.
It's the difference in popularity. We just realized the size of the world population. Like I don't know. Again, like the way the popular radio, like top 40 radio, used to be different. There's a sense like this is what's popular, and like we're hardwired when we see a lot of people digging something to like think it must be really good, right? As you just said. But now we can go on TikTok and see like just hundreds and thousands of different cultural products that have that seem to have that energy behind them, and people get really paralyzed. I know I do by all the different options, and you end up just kind of picking your own lane, and this kind of new tribalism within a tribalism that takes place. And yeah, as you said, there is that great saturation, but I think we're just in that phase of saturation, and eventually culture, more like hierarchical, like this is good culture, will maybe reemerge. I mean, I don't even really care that much.
I sadly feel like it will probably go downhill just because of like the way like with AI and everything advancing.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of people are just coping, but like realistically, I think it is gonna replace a lot of things, especially for artists. Like,
well, that's really. I mean, I've always been like, no, I'll never like AI art or anything, but I guess maybe I'm maybe that's hubris on my part. But
yeah, I mean, I definitely think like AI is definitely going to be detrimental and is like definitely very dystopian. But at the same time, it's like technology was always inevitably headed there, and so I think we just need to adapt rather than cope with it.
Adapt rather than cope.
Because I've seen people get like quote unquote like canceled for using AI, and it's just like.
No, like we have to adapt.
It's like this is we're thinking it's the same thing you saw with like NFTs, you know, where it's just like I personally think it's stupid, but it's like I don't know, like people are doing it's like I don't know, it's like let people do what they want. Sadly, I definitely think it is going to like negatively affect society, especially just with the spread of misinformation already. Is like there's nothing you can post online that a large group of people won't believe. There's always going to be people that agree with what someone's saying, and I think that's also why like. You see people never really leave their communities and groups is because it's like if you have like thousands of people telling what you're saying is right, then there's no reason to change your mind.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is leading towards I don't know. Like already now, it's like people believe in things that aren't real. Now it's like we can create things that look real that aren't.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's just gonna be dangerous territory.
But I like what you said. You know, it's finding a way to adapt to it rather than just coping. I think is the way forward. You know, you can just be like rejecting stuff that's new and trying to go back just like doesn't seem to work. So it's a better way. To backpedal a little bit and talk more about influences, I definitely want to talk about like Kanye. Not Kanye's political stuff, because honestly we can leave that aside with more there to say. But this is something you talk about in interviews. But this also kind of relates to our own friendship. Like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, you say, is pretty much the album that
was
showed you that music could be art, or got you interested in art, or
100%. Because that was like even like way before Young Lean. That was when you and I were in.
We were there when My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
I remember the date.
Like November. What do you know the date off the top of your head?
No,
like November 2010. Like I remember the time of year.
And I just remember buying it physically. I think the first album I ever bought myself. That wasn't like a gift from family or anything. And I just remember the pamphlet it came with, I just thought was the coolest thing ever. And I think that's a large reason too why I think the art is just as important to my music, is I thought it was beautiful. I had that like hung up in my room for years and years, the pamphlet from that album. I think I have like probably like 3 copies of that album now. But there was also the short film he did, Runaway that came with it, and I love it. I think
so. It's easy to see like that started everything for you.
Yeah, no, exactly, because like the art and like the film aspects were just as important to me as the music, if not more, honestly. And so that was really what did it for me. And there's a story, a narrative in the album. There was just so many aspects that to me I was really like, this is perfect. This is like one of the greatest like pieces of art.
Yeah, no, I felt that way at the time. I still feel that way now. I mean, I was listening to Donda the other day. Like I think he's wonderful. It's just really a shame about
no, it's honestly else, but like I feel like the only thing I'll say on that is it's just like so heartbreaking because I really watched like my favorite artist of all time become a Nazi. So, like, it's just like it's literally so heartbreaking. I don't know, and it's sad because it's like I'm not surprised necessarily just based off the past few years. I'm not surprised we went down that rabbit hole, but it sucks. But I definitely I think to some degree, though, there is the separation of the artist. Like, I'm not going to change my mind and be like, his music sucks. Like, I think his music's still great, but definitely tragic. I'm not like a Kanye stan anymore for sure. So.
No. But I mean, he, the 2010s concept of an album, like I feel like is rooted to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. That's the pretty much the premier piece of art.
Yeah, I think that's also the year that Bring Me the Horizon released There's a Heaven, Believe Me, I've Seen It, There's a Hell, Let's Keep It a Secret. That was also like a huge influence as well.
Metalcore and
and especially like listening back to that now too, that album was like recorded and mixed like so much less professionally than any of their other projects. And I don't know why it was, because even like Suicide Season, the one they did before that,
that's the one I'm
more
a lot. That was
I prefer that one. But something about just like the concept they did with that album was very important to me too. And the themes, especially with like a lot of the like spiritual stuff, is like very evident in my music as well. And so
with Bring Me the Horizon. What's their kind of spiritual outlook?
I would probably guess they're like some sort of like agnostic or atheist, but they still like wrestle with these themes and talk about it, and which is very similar to what I do. But I wouldn't say I'm like a Christian musician. Obviously, I would probably say an average Christian person would probably want to kill me just for my name alone. But I definitely, like, I grew up in the church.
Right. Well, that goes in our narrative field because I remember distinctly several church laser tag sessions that we went to. Yeah. So I always knew you being kind of part of the church.
I grew up in the church, and I think a lot of it was what really like turned me away from God, especially in like probably more so in like college. I would say like once I started living.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I think when you knew me, I was an atheist and like outspoken about it, which I'm not anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm not anymore either.
So, but like everyone goes through that phase. Yeah.
Yeah, like I was just like, because I went through a phase of everything. Like I explored so many religions, like Wiccan, Satanism, Buddhism. Like I just like I wanted to learn about everything. But like the time I actually like sat down and started like reading the Bible and exploring stuff, I was like I don't know if there's a God. I honestly hope there is one, but I'm like, this stuff is amazing, and it's just so evident that like the Bible inspires just like so much of like literally everything.
Yeah.
Like it's really crazy that like I feel like if you at least like art, then you should read the Bible, because like it's crazy how much like literature, film, everything, just like it all came from there. And it's a cool story too. Like,
definitely. You know, no, there's a lot of
almost feels like it's like, I feel like this probably like Christian people will be offended, but like I feel it almost feels like you're reading like a fantasy book in a sense.
Yeah.
This is like it's very engaging with like I don't know.
No, completely. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about like kind of the spiritual aspect of your work. I mean, I myself, you know, I pull these tarot cards on TikTok. Like I'm sort of all over the place. But like definitely not like anti-Bible or anti-Christian.
Yeah.
I like all of it, you know. I like some occult stuff for sure, but I also like.
No, I'm super into the occult as well.
Yeah.
I definitely think people should be able to subscribe to like different perspectives and religions. Like there's I would say there's probably like 5 or 6 different religions that I adhere to.
That's what's interesting about the occult to me. It's like it's not Satanist stuff per se. It's the just the esoteric nature of it and these sort of. It kind of liberates the mind to like not have to adhere to a specific tradition while totally appreciating the power of all traditions. That's what I like about it.
Oh, definitely agree.
It's interesting. Talk about Kanye. I remember we had an interesting conversation when I came here in January for your birthday, and I was like, that was around the time I was like, we got to do a podcast because you were talking about all these artists and how they affected you. But you mentioned Lady Gaga, 2008, 2009. I mean, definitely credit there, right? I mean, for me too. Like, I'm not a musician, but just like
I love
she's
Lady
one
Gaga.
of the most interesting.
I was a huge fan, still am, and I would also want to put Kesha up there as well.
Yeah, I had Kesha on
honestly.
The list.
Also,
I shit on Kesha so much at the time, but like she's good. She apparently just released an album like that Rick Rubin produced. I gotta hear it because it seems good.
I listened to that the other night. But yeah, I think there was a lot of like women artists that were just doing so much that was just so ahead of the time.
I mean, her song is literally called TikTok.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They I don't know. They're just so amazing, and I just feel like that energy and also like the aesthetic, especially with Lady Gaga, was definitely what pushed me to a lot of, I guess, also like the performer aspects of making music. Because I definitely think like I'm definitely very into like fashion as well, and I just feel like her stage craft and stage presence and just all of her like outfits and fashion, especially like photo shoots she's done for her albums. I just like I haven't really seen anyone do something like that since like the 80s before.
No, yeah,
and so that's why I was just
not
like,
since really either, not to that extent. Yeah,
and so that's why I was like, I really want to incorporate like something like that into my art for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. Were you a Marilyn Manson fan?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, another person who's kind of not the reputation. I don't even want to comment on like the reputation now per se because it's kind of a tired topic. But for me, I think Kanye was a huge influence on me, just like personally, artistically, but Manson even more so was like kind of what you said about Kanye for you. Like that's pretty much what got me into philosophy, art, film, like all of it. I don't know. Music. People often get into music. Their taste in music, I think, develops a little bit before their taste in other things. So music can often be a really cool portal to like your broader cultural sensibility, and definitely like I feel like. What was the timeline of this? Like right around the time I met you, I was like, I mean, I won't even bore the audience with my own like teenage transitions into different things, but you know, I kind of was into emo, and then I was like, no, I'm really into Manson, and That's what I started to take art like more seriously at that point.
Oh, definitely.
And he's another one.
I remember reading his book because we had to do a project in school on it was just like any sort of celebrity. Yeah. And I chose Marilyn Manson because I was always fascinated by his music and always like interviews too. Like watching his interviews.
I watched every like minute of his
YouTube
interview. Yeah.
And then I remember I brought the book home and I was reading it and my mom lost her mind that I had that book.
Oh, did you get it from the library?
Yeah. And then she literally like talked to my teacher and was like, and I come from.
Was this in Hawaii?
Yeah, I want to say I was in like 9th grade.
Yeah.
And so I come from a religious upbringing. My mom just thought it was like, oh, like you're reading this like Satanist book, and also I feel like Marilyn Manson was also like the person that I feel like it was also like it was like cancel culture before cancel culture existed. Is I just remember there's so many rumors about him that gave him such a bad rep, and I'm pretty sure like none of them ended up being true. I know now that he's done like a bunch of terrible things, but at the time though it would be like stuff like I'm sure you like all like classic Marilyn Manson rumors. But like it was because of like stuff like that my mom was just like absolutely not. I ended up having to return the book and then I did my presentation on Hayao Miyazaki instead.
A little safer, also very
big.
No, I totally kept my parents would not have tolerated Manson either, so it was pretty much limited to stuff I was downloading. Yeah. And like it was a private interest because it would have been censored.
I have a really odd. I wish I had the video that we could play the audio.
Yeah.
But I was with Dalton. You know,
right?
Dalton. We were. I think this is when we were either visiting Hawaii, or I don't know. I just know we were going through like my family's like computer, like their old hard drive. So many videos, like so many funny videos, because we used to like make videos all the time. Like we're not even like for YouTube or anything. Like we just would make them. Then you and your brother made that short film the one time. Do you remember?
God, yeah.
And so I was rewatching one of the clips, and there's so many like good quotes in that. But one of them I remember was my cat at the time hops up on the table. You're playing a serial killer that's trying to act like a friendly neighbor, and your brother was like, "Oh, what's your cat's name?" And you're like, "I forget what you." Oh, you're like, Charlie.
Charlie Manson.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, that's such a cute name, like what Charlie who?" And you're like Charlie Manson. And then he's like, "Oh, he makes all the those songs."
Right.
And had the one song in the Willie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? And you're like, "No, that's Marilyn Manson. This is Charles Manson." And then he's like, "Oh, what songs did he make?" And you're like, "Oh, well, he's most known for murdering Sharon Tate." And I'm just like we were like 13, 14 at the time. Like this is crazy for like a kid's like short film. Like,
I remember. It doesn't feel like that long ago, you know?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, we definitely need to watch a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, no, if you have it, for sure.
I'll have to get my family to send it to me, but for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I have like some videos from even like the cyber school field trips.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's where we first met, was at one of those field trips.
There's one where it was just like honestly so disrespectful, but so funny. It was like you, me, your brother, I want to say maybe Jason, and then like Jason's two random dudes that I low-key don't remember, but we're in the back just like wreaking havoc, like, and they're like trying to give like a presentation, and it's just like us like in the back putting on my like camcorder, and we're just like making like crazy noises and like I don't know. I was just like, that's crazy.
But I'd like to see that because I don't remember that.
It was good times.
Yeah. Other genre that was like an influence on me, and maybe on you. When I say influence on me, I'm just talking about like personally. Obviously for you more artistically, but it was like the Christian metalcore scene. You still listen to any of that, like Under Oath?
I don't listen as much, but that was
Under Oath
also...
is no longer a Christian band, interestingly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're like we were kind of
I don't know. I can respect it.
Yeah, it's like
interesting.
It's like that was like I don't know. Spencer Chamberlain, I think is the guy's name. It's like that played a role at a certain point, but like we moved away from it. I don't know. It's just interesting how that evolved. I feel like that's still kind of an under talked about corner. There was so much.
No, it was
Christian, like youth group core.
Yeah, and even looking back on it now, I want to say that because I feel like we keep saying like all these things like, oh, that was like the first influence, like Young Lee, and like I know it was Kanye, but that was even way before listening to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Is so since I grew up in the church, my mom used to volunteer at these Christian music festivals.
Yeah.
So when I was in like elementary school, I was like going to all these festivals like all the time. Usually
Revelation
like
Generation.
So RevGen was one.
Yeah, I
Creation
went to that too, which
Music
I had
Festival.
a fantastic time.
Yeah, and I think RevGen was actually the
Purple
one
Door?
that I don't think I went to Purple Door.
That was in like Tennessee, maybe.
I mainly went to RevGen and Creation, but I remember at RevGen there was there was like stages that were only for metal bands, and I was so young at the time. I wasn't super obviously like into any of the music besides like what my parents played for me, so like I knew some songs. There's like a few like groups I was ready to see, but I remember I see there's metal stage. My dad's like, oh, like let's go over here. So I go over, and I'm also like, since I was a kid, I've always like had like very long black hair, so I'm like this like 10-year-old with like long black hair with my dad going over, and there's crazy mosh pit. My dad's losing his mind. My dad thinks it's like the coolest thing he's ever seen, because my dad introduced me to a lot of music, but I feel like my dad did introduce me to a lot of metal music, but I want to say it was like not like deathcore, you know, like not like screaming metal, you know, sort of like Disturbed, obviously a Christian band like Skillet, like, you know.
Yeah.
But so then we go and it's like metalcore, deathcore, grindcore even.
Yeah, some of it was like deathcore.
Yeah, like really
hard.
intense.
I still don't know how that scene came into existence.
I know.
Thank God
I remember like
because my parents would never have let me go to a show like that unless.
Oh, for sure. I know.
And it was authentically
exactly
good music. Like I actually wonder if some of those bands knew that they were just pretending to be Christian the whole time.
Yeah, I thought.
I don't even be too cynical because like I think the positivity was real, but like. Well, it's just weird how much Christian.
Looking at like myself and my relationship with my parents, I feel like a lot of these bands started a lot younger. I mean, even I was in a band when I was like 16 for a little bit, but even then, like I feel like I could see if you grew up with like a religious upbringing being pushed to be like, okay, like if you're gonna make a band, like at least make it Christian, you know, and they're like, okay. Like it can be Christian, but it's also gonna be like really heavy.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like that authenticity thing. Like, there's so many people in this country who like grow up in those religious communities, and like you don't have to like fucking like totally abandon it. You can like actually make a band with the kids in your youth group, and like, but still make the music you want to make.
No,
I think that's where it came from.
No, I think that's definitely where it came from. And I just remember that day going to the stage for the first time. Everyone's moshing. My dad has like a picture I gotta find somewhere of me just like standing, smiling in front of the mosh pit. I'm like so small, like.
Yeah.
And the band was The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
I fell in love right away. Loved the music. I was so into it. They always have like the tents at these like Christian festivals. We go over to their tent. The band's there. I buy the shirt with Reptar on it. Devil Wears Prada Reptar shirt. It was like my favorite shirt for so long. Get the CD. I put the shirt on right away. Pretty much like the whole festival, I stay at the metal stage with my dad. Obviously, I was like really little, so I couldn't like walk around myself. But had a great time. And then I remember when I was walking back, one of the other tents sees me, and I'm like this like 10-year-old kid, long black hair, and I have a Devil Wears Prada shirt on. A group of these dudes, probably in their like, they were pretty young, honestly, in their like 20s maybe, come over and they're like, "Yo, like you like Devil Wears Prada?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "We're this band called Ice Nine Kills."
Yeah, who are like big now.
Yeah, they just put out their very first EP. They give it to me, and this is back in the day, so they have like the portable CD player with the headphones that you plug in.
I remember that everyone was trying to sell their album.
And so I literally like they put the headphones on me, like huge on me. I'm just sitting there listening, and then they're like, "This is awesome." They give me the album. I go home, pop it in my MacBook, which this was before cyber school. Yeah. So I pop in my family's computer, which is when you like burn everything to iTunes.
Yeah.
Pull it up, and I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome." But yeah, no, like they've been doing great.
They're bigger than Devil Wears Prada now, probably.
Yeah, so it's just crazy because at the time I was so young. Honestly, I should reach out to them and tell them that story because it's really crazy. Like, such a small world.
Absolutely, yeah. No, my memory, I only went to RevGen once, but my memory is like very similar. I knew there was going to be like, I knew I was going to see Devil Wears Prada. I knew there was going to be hard music, so it wasn't like a surprise. But I didn't really know what moshing was. Mm-hmm. And like I go, it's Norma Jean, who I think is still a great band.
No, yeah.
And they're playing, and there's this mosh pit, and I go in it. And it sounds almost corny, like if you're not into moshing or into this kind of music, but it was like a life-changing event for me kind of socially. Because I was so shy. I actually, this was before you were in cyber school, but I went with like another friend from cyber school I kind of had a crush on, but like I didn't know her super well, and it was like really awkward in the car. I just drove with her family. And like, but so it was like the day was kind of off to a rocky start, but I just like went in that mosh pit and like lost my mind, and like the rest of the day was like ecstatic.
Yeah, no,
you know, because that's what that music. So moshing, but I think what that kind of music and probably your music too, like can be about.
Yeah,
is
and also with that people, culture too.
Yeah,
it's so it's like moshing is so intense, but it's like everyone takes care of each other too.
Yeah, such a release, and yeah, like such a good culture. Whenever I think about it, it's like I don't really go to that many shows anymore, but like I should go to more with moshing. It's like I think it's actually like very therapeutic.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, metal shows are 100% my favorite.
Yeah,
definitely.
No, yeah, glad to talk a little bit about that stuff. But I guess on that topic, this is kind of a more abstract sort of question. But you talk, and it's almost it's something that a lot of artists talk about. But do you have any thoughts on kind of like, you talk about your music elsewhere, and we've talked about like as a process of taking depression and other dark feelings and like channeling it into something positive. That's very broad, but like, do you have any thoughts on that process? Like, how do you tap into that?
I think that's also a big reason why I've stuck with music. Is it's like 100% like a therapeutic outlet for me. A lot of stuff I'll talk about my music that I don't talk to like anyone, even my therapist. So like yeah. I don't know. I think it's very important. Like with any art, I would say that goes for. And definitely, like, when you're dealing with a lot, like, it seems so hopeless, but I think you definitely, like, there's always good art that comes from that, too. I think it's, like, important to just, I don't know, sometimes you have to let your mind flow and just, like, let out what's ever, like, internalized.
Yeah, definitely.
I think a lot of times it doesn't come out in other forms, too, or at least in healthy ways, so.
Right, no, totally. Like, I don't do music, but I write, and I think of it in a very similar way. I mean, this podcast is still kind of in its infancy. I call it the Black Album podcast right now. Thank you. Okay, maybe I'll keep it because you can compliment it, but, like, I don't know if we'll keep that, but the meaning of it is very much like alchemy, like that. Again, with my occult interest too, like I think a lot about alchemy and like transforming shit into gold or transforming darkness into light.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
You know, I don't think it's like, I think it's a fairly common and obvious sentiment that art can be that, but it's still profound to me that art can be that, and that's a way of thinking about it. You know,
well, I love making it. I love seeing other people make art. Like, art's definitely like probably like the most important, if not like one of the most important things like in the world to me. Yeah. And so I mean, yeah, definitely. Obviously, like you've heard me, like be a little bit like trying to move away from music and go into like other endeavors, but that's definitely why I've stuck with music so long. Because I just love art and I love having like an outlet, just being able to like help people, and so definitely.
Absolutely. Well, before we wrap up, I definitely want to talk about film and filmmaking a lot. So you just got back from Japan. I don't know to what extent you want to talk about. But so you are studying.
Yeah, so a lot of things went wrong in my life out of nowhere during that time. But initially, though, I was out there. I was doing a screenwriting program, pretty much like all online. I've not finished it. I did finish the first semester of it at least.
Great.
So I do need to go back at some point. I still have a dorm over there, so I got to go back and finish it up. But yeah, I just sort of wanted to do just like a screenwriting program, and it was also a lot more like the technical aspects of film.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what I needed to learn more about. Screenwriting I've done before. I've like directed like my own like videos before, and like I have made a short film, but I've never released it. But even stuff like that, I feel like is just like I sort of just did for fun. I feel like the reason I haven't really released anything that I've really like put all the like fully put the work into is just like I don't want to release something that is like half-assed, I guess. Like and like like while searching for better terms. But I guess like more so I also just like I don't know, I'm one of those people that's like I'm not gonna make a film if I know like I don't have the money to make it as good as I want. So I rather like
different than music in that regard.
Yeah, but
music started scrappy.
But I'm finally at the point now that like I'm making like I'm able to make like what I want like with my film, and so I'm working on a short film right now, which I feel like more so if anything is like just a test to me, just wanting to test like all the different things with film I want to do, because I feel like the short is it's very ambitious, and also I feel like it's kind of something you would maybe expect me to make, but it's very different than everything else I'm like writing. A lot of I feel like the stuff I'm working on with film is very different than my music. It's a lot of like art house, like drama, slow burn sort of things. Not like really anything crazy.
Well, I know you're very influenced by David Cronenberg, which I can imagine like a Cronenberg original God thing where it's like, you know,
well, actually, like
blood and guts, but it's not exactly
the Cronenberg influence is going to be seen more so in the short film I'm doing. It's a horror sci-fi comedy, and I really don't know what films I could possibly compare it
That's
to.
not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
But it's definitely like I love practical effect monster films, so that's like a big influence on it. I also love horror comedies, and I love horror and I love comedies, but I feel like they're the two genres that, as much as I love them, there's like very few films in that genre I think are good, especially comedies. I feel like 9 out of 10 times I don't like comedy movies, but the ones I do like, I love.
So funny,
What comes to mind to me is like Gremlins 2, Evil Dead 2, Texas Chainsaw 2, where it's like a satire of like horror, but it also does have like horror and gore that is very like well done. So I want to do something like that without being like corny, because I feel like most horror comedies are just like not good, and just most comedies suck. And then horror movies, I love horror, definitely like one of my favorite subgenres, but I definitely have never seen a film that actually scares me. I mean, obviously when I was like a kid, I used to get scared of a lot. Yeah. But now it's like when people are like, "Oh, it's the scariest movie you've seen," I can't think of one, and I hate that. Like I want to get scared by movies.
You like what's his name? Noé, Gaspar Noé, right?
Yeah.
To some extent. Yeah. The film that upset me the most in my adult life is Irreversible.
Yeah, that's my favorite film by him. It's very very depressing. Yeah. I feel like the same with like Solo, like one of my favorite films. I think it's a masterpiece. But it's like a film I don't necessarily know if I want to watch again. Like you know, it's just like that. Like it's heartbreaking in a sense, and I think that's like what's so beautiful about it, and what I want to encompass as well is being able to have that balance of like sheer terror and horror, but also like genuine relationships. And I think that's more so where I want to put like the comedy aspects. Like I'm not like going to be making like it's not like a Seth Rogen comedy. It's more like I don't know if you've seen like Triangle of Sadness or like The Square. Yeah, it's like that sort of feeling. Where it's more satire, but there's still like this narrative.
Oh yeah, Triangle of Sadness is like
important, like
perfect in that way. Like it is a drama, but it's also a comedy. It simply is both. It's not a dramedy. It's an entirely serious movie that's also very fun.
And I mean, I feel like we used to get things like that like Shakespeare, but it's not like an important, I guess, like
it's not that like Seth Rogen
anymore, you know? Yeah. So I want to sort of bring that back, at least with the short, is I want to experiment with that. But most of the films I'm working on are very different than that, and is more so like what I want to be doing. But I feel like if I want to start out, like I want to at least make sure I'm able to do these practical effects. I want to at least know I'm able to make a comedy, even if that's not.
I think there's something to be.
Or know I'm able to do horror. I mean, well, everything I make is going to have like horror elements, but it's not going to be like a slasher, you know?
Yeah, no, totally. So the big film sort of cultural touch points for you, we talked about Cronenberg, but obviously I know you're a huge Lynch fan.
Oh yeah, so David Lynch, I would say, is definitely like one of the biggest inspirations, not only on my music, but like with film. I want to say though, that at least like the feature I'm writing is definitely like the only director I can compare it to, or I say influences at all, would be Tarkovsky. Definitely. I just love the way he tells stories, and I feel like they just really don't make films like that anymore. So that's like I really want to be able to tell a story like that. Sadly, a lot of people probably think it's boring, but We'll see. I just feel like it's a story I've just like for years wanted to tell, and I think Tarkovsky, especially like, Stalker obviously, but more so like mirror Ivan's childhood in that sense, or even like films like Come and See. I know it's a war film, but just like that like bleak vision of the world that's still just like so profoundly beautiful as it is like disturbing. Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for more.
Cool. Yeah, because like I love Lynch too, but I mean you don't want to imitate Lynch, you know what I mean? Whereas the other filmmakers like Tarkovsky, not that you can imitate them either, but like I don't know, there's some filmmakers.
Yeah, no, and Lynch is such a signature style too that it's like
whenever I watch a movie, I feel like they're trying to be Lynchian, and it sometimes loses.
And even like Yorgos Lanthimos, huge fan, but it's like I would never like want to directly like you know, it's just like their style is so. Especially with the dialogue, that it just like it's obvious when someone's copying versus is like inspired. And so that's why like with this short is it's just like I feel like it's not really necessarily inspired by anything. It's like inspired by like 80s monster horror films and like experimental horror. Like I don't know, have you ever seen like The Strange Color of Your Body's Tears?
No. Sounds interesting.
Or like trying to think, like Subconscious Cruelty, like just like these really gnarly like experimental horror films where it's just like almost like no dialogue, like like I feel like stuff like that, or even
I have
like,
to go down that rabbit hole more so.
No, I'm
there's
a
lot of good
experimental
weird
horror
fan.
fan. There's definitely very hit or miss. I just watched this great one called New Religion the other day, Japanese film. Just came out. Actually, I saw it in Japan a year ago, and I guess it only just now they translated it and it's on streaming. But I actually just talked to the director on Twitter, which is super random. But I like being able to talk to directors, which has been like because I'm planning to work with another director I admire for a film, but also for a music video in Japan. I don't know if you've seen like Cat Sick Blues.
No, but I've heard of that. But yeah.
Great independent horror film.
Yeah.
He does like amazing music videos now, but we've been trying to put something together for a bit, and so just like I feel like it's been like a breath of fresh air to work with other directors. A lot of these times they're older than me, but it's just like being able to see like a different perspective on art, especially since it's something I want to be doing as well. It's just I don't know, it just feels more genuine. Whereas I feel like with music, there's always is that aspect that I feel like you do have to be like, what does this person like want out of me, or like you think
do you think working directly with directors is a little bit less like,
I haven't gone that feeling. Well, it's also because it's like I know they don't have
producers.
I just know there's absolutely nothing they have to gain from me, so I can tell like the situation.
That may be a part of it too. I mean, I have a pretty positive impression of directors in general. Like there's scuzzy people in the film industry.
Oh, like in Hollywood, I'm sure it's different.
But if you actually get an artist, a director, even if they actually aren't, they may be a douchebag. They may be horrible to work with. But if you get them talking about art, they're
it's always
be real
so
to you.
insightful. And I feel like stupid saying about that with music too, in a sense, because like I know not everyone's like that, and I also like I have like a very I don't know what's the word for it. I feel like I view equality to the sense of like almost like self deprivation. Like if that makes sense. Like I truly believe, and is like something I've always lived by, is that like all people really are equal, and I feel like a lot of people, especially like with music, is like I work to be here, but I really truly believe that like so much is just not in our control, and it's just about being right place, right time.
Oh yeah, completely.
Like when I see
like
a homeless person on the street, I'm not like, oh, like I my first thought is like that easily could have been me. Like I'm sure there was like a series of events that led to this that wasn't like clearly like no one wants to be like, you know. And it's just like I don't know, it makes me sad. Like that's why I always want to like give people the time of day and like treat them how I want to be treated. But I think in a sense it comes back to bite me, especially with music, because it's just I don't like necessarily ever like receive that back, which isn't why I do it per se, but it's just like after a while, like you do sort of realize it's just like I don't see myself as like someone that's like I don't know, like I wouldn't say I'm famous at all or anything. Like my music is just like
latch on.
Like that's what I'm saying. It's just like I don't know why. Like there's something to gain for me, and so when like I get like screwed over by someone in music, or that just like they're there because they wanted to like get like this like beat from a producer or I work with, or talk to like this person, and then like I never hear from them again. I'm just like. It's just strange to me because it's just like I don't see myself as someone that's like even worth doing to, and I'm just like, what's the point? Like, I don't know, and it's just a waste of my time, and so I don't know. It sucks because I also like I'll talk about art and stuff, but like I don't want to talk about music when I'm with musicians because like it's just business, you know. And so it's like I want to have like genuine conversations, and so like with a lot of these people I've been working on with film, I just feel like it's a breath of fresh air because we're really like talking about like what we like. I don't know, it's like outlooks on the world, the vision of art, and it just like. I don't know, it doesn't ever seem forced or fake, I guess.
No.
So that's...
Glad to hear that. It's optimistic, what are, just this kind of a grab bag generic question, but like what are some of the better films you've seen that came out this year or last year? You mentioned Triangle of Sadness, but like what are...
Oh yeah, I mean, I love Triangle of Sadness. That director I think is hilarious.
I have to see it, so.
The Square is amazing. I definitely recommend The Square. That came out a while ago, but recently...
a lot of people would say it's like not the best year for movies or whatever, but I don't know. There's some good
people always say here. 1 second, I'm gonna literally pull up because I log every single film.
I know you put this on TikTok, so that's part of why I'm asking.
So let me see. So for 2023, I have seen a lot of good ones. All right, Past Lives is gorgeous. I cried so hard at that film. Oh
What's
my
that
gosh!
One again? I know the name.
It's by Celine Song. I believe this is her debut film. It's a romance drama film.
It came out kind of
about
recently,
like two like childhood friends like reconnecting.
Nice.
So that like
definitely you should watch that. I don't want to spoil anything. There was a remake / reboot of the David Cronenberg film Dead Ringers. They made a miniseries.
Yes.
That is fantastic as well.
I heard good things. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I know that's like a show. I honestly don't watch much TV, but like miniseries or
some
things like that.
are movies. Like,
and
they just
also,
are.
Lars von Trier put out the finale for Kingdom, which is one of the greatest shows ever created.
Mm-hmm.
That's another great show. Chile 76. That was at the Seattle Film Festival. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm Chilean, and my family had to deal with the coup by Pinochet.
Yeah.
And so getting to watch that is definitely it's weird because I feel like it's almost like a bit more of like a mellow perspective on that, which is like weird to say because it was like literally like Holocaust levels of torture.
Yeah.
But this film is honestly though it's a very good perspective, very Hitchcock-esque. Recommend that from this year. The new Spider-Verse movie, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, obviously I'm a huge anime fan, so like I think animation is awesome. It's very rare that I see like American animations that I like, but Spider-Verse I think is great. And I hate Marvel movies, and like this is like without a doubt like the best one by a long shot.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think like Logan's pretty good too, but like
what do you think? We kind of disparagingly talked about Seth Rogen comedies earlier, but I actually thought I haven't seen it. But the animation on the Ninja Turtles movie is kind of intriguing.
Oh,
I don't know if you have thoughts
think
on
I
that.
vaguely saw
I don't
that.
actually know if it's going to be good. I was like, oh, this is different.
Yeah, so I think Spider-Verse is what started that new style of animation, which is funny because it actually was directly inspired by Hoseki no Kuni, which is probably like one of like the most like experimental animes they put out recently, or anime I should say. I'm trying to remember what the English title is for it, but it's really good and the manga is fantastic. But it was like that style of animation, I guess, is the director of Spider-Verse saw and was like, all right, we need to do this, and it worked. And I know the Puss in Boots movie also used that, the latest one, and that movie was actually really good as well. I was surprised. Let me see what else we have here going down quickly. The new Evil Dead movie I thought was really fun. Like I love every Evil Dead movie, so that's great. The Outwaters, found footage experimental horror. Highly, highly recommend. I think it's gotten a really bad rep. I don't know if you've seen Skinamarink.
No.
It's also an amazing experimental horror, but also got a bad rep because people are just like you're just like looking at like the same object for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Which I can understand. Like I can definitely understand why people don't like it. Similar to the Outwaters, there's definitely going to be people that's like, I've looked at a black screen for like 30 minutes, but if you can get past some of the experimental stuff, it is fantastic horror. That honestly might be the closest to like a movie to like unnerving me in recent memory.
Yeah, I have to see Skinamarink. I was told it's good.
But yeah, I mean, just off the top of my head, there's a bunch of good ones. There's always
it's a good list. Yeah.
Always really, really good films coming out. Honestly, I try to see like everything I can. I watched Sanctuary last night. That was also really good. Infinity Pool, I went to the premiere of, and I actually got to see David Cronenberg's son speak.
Right,
he directed that. Yeah. So that was really cool. Yeah, for sure.
You're wearing a Suspiria shirt. Which is
yeah.
Cool. I actually wanted to ask, I think you like both versions of it, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a preference?
So I feel like that's like the one film I would actually probably say with Dead Ringers now that I actually like the remake and the original just as much. Like I honestly don't think I could pick.
I would almost say I like the remake a little bit more. I don't know. It's hard to pick.
It's really hard to pick.
Aesthetic
have you seen Luca's new film, Bones and All?
That
is fantastic.
Yeah. And he has another one coming out, Challengers. But that one's less of a horror movie.
I saw
some screen grabs of Zendaya. But
I'm sure it'll be great. And I mean, honestly, if you've seen his other films, like pre-Suspiria, Call Me by Your Name is a bit similar, but his other films they're all like kind of like sexual drama films that deal with like I don't know, like incest or like taboo relationships, and I don't know. It's strange, but they're always great.
I'm a fan.
They're written so well every time.
And the Suspiria remake kind of I guess it didn't get good reviews, so I think history will be kind to it.
Oh,
I think
for
it's
sure.
fantastic. I think people were
it's an absolute masterpiece.
they were off-put by the maximalism, but like that's a stupid thing to be off-put by. Like, I think it was really good.
I remember the day I saw that in theaters, my jaw was on the floor from the first screen, like the first.
It's
like
beautiful.
I think it's a perfect movie, and I also I was always such a big fan of the original Suspiria, especially like the colors. It's like a huge influence on even like
colors,
how
exactly,
I like film too, and so. Seeing the new one, like they changed up the aesthetic, but they did it. I was like, this is also like the other like visualistic. That's like perfect for me. That's
good
like, I
remake.
love this.
You know, you don't want to just imitate something.
Yeah, and they changed so much of like the plot and story.
Oh, it's completely.
It was, like,
it's a completely different movie set in the same.
Yeah, it's like almost like a retelling or like almost a sequel in a sense. I was just like, this is like a perfect film. I loved it.
No, me too. Well, I think we're getting close probably to the end of the time, but is there anything else you want to shout out? Any people, any projects you have upcoming? What you're up to in general?
I have an EP for my band that should be out soon.
Your band's called The God
Hand, yeah. We had a lot of technical difficulties.
How do you pick your names? God and both.
The God Hand is from Berserk.
Okay.
It's the like that character.
This character.
They're like the they're like the antagonists.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even necessarily say like antagonist sense, like very similar to you've seen like Hellraiser, right?
Yeah.
It's like the Cenobites. It's like not what they're doing is necessarily evil. That's just like the world. Like they're born from where like pain is genuinely pleasure to them. Very similar. The God Hand. That's where I got it from. And then, which interestingly enough is I think like the band is definitely very inspired by like the Christian like grindcore, like really heavy, like that era of music.
But yeah, that original God, is that like a kind of Gnostic?
Well, no. So I actually kind of hate my name now because I feel like so many people think it's like pretentious in the sense they're like, okay, well, he's either saying he's a god or he's saying like he's the god of being original, and it's like no, it literally just came from the fact I always thought OG stood for that, and when I found out it didn't, I was like, oh, all right, that's a cool name, I'm gonna use it. Then there's also as well, there's a lot of like spiritual stuff with that. I guess it represents more of an idea. The day I really came like up with that idea, I was volunteering in Mexico at an orphanage.
Cool. Yeah.
A kid had a shirt that said OG on it. A lot of stuff, like a lot of emotional things I went through during there that I really wanted to like give back to like people that like, I don't know. It was just like, long story short, this kid pretty much lost everything in his life, like, and he was just smiling and just so happy to be alive, play soccer together, and it was just like this is just like so many people don't understand like what it is to be happy, like truly, and just like I want to be able to make art for like all the people that are like broken, that like I want them to still be able to smile, like even if they have like nothing, because I've been around the world, I've seen people be so happy that have just gone through so much hurt, and it's just like so many people that I know need to have like that smile and like that like delivered to them as well. So that's
It's a pretty good note to end on. But I did sidetrack you, so anything else you want to...
No, that's
all right.
it. Yeah,
cool.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
Super cool to see each other.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we live so close.
Yeah.